Hey traders, welcome back to another live trading video where I basically start and finish my trades in front of you guys so that you can see exactly what is going through my head as a trader. I've been doing this for 5 years now. I trade and run a business around trading, and I just kind of track my own performance here through some of these videos. It helps me to journal them, and I think it helps some of you guys just to see what it's really like to deal with trades. So I just took this position on CHF JPY, and my plan with these videos is to start the camera and to finish the camera when the trade finishes, whether it's a profitable trade or a losing trade. So what I do is I talk entries, exits, analysis, all of that with you guys here as it's unfolding. You guys can get an idea of a trade that I might take. I had some questions also, by the way. This little tool here is a tool that we just use at A1 Trading to share our trades with members. Any trades that I take are shared with the VIP group. You can find out information about that in the description down below if you're interested in seeing the trades that I take in real time. So again, with this video, whether it's a winner or loser, I will be sharing these trades with our members so that they can see for themselves my own analysis. Now, CHF JPY, I am currently long on this trade, and it's a really simple cookie cutter setup. So we had 2 times here where price came down and rejected off of this level very strongly. Okay, so from a technical perspective, I'm going to run through the technicals with you. Basically, we saw price dip hard there. We saw an immediate rejection there, but then ultimately price actually broke higher. Now, I wasn't looking at the charts here, but I did just look at it about 30 minutes ago when I took this trade, or maybe 15 minutes ago. I did my analysis 30 minutes ago. And as we started to fade into this move here, as we pulled back, I actually ended up taking a long position on the open of this bar here. Now, you might ask, well, why did you take that trade? There's really just a few short reasons. Number one, here on the 4-hour chart, we've got this 20-period moving average that is showing some support here historically. So we've actually seen it hold 1, 2, a couple times there, and now looking like it may have room to hold for a third bounce. Now, on top of that, that level that I just mentioned, which was a level of resistance, now could actually act as support. I don't know that that's going to be the case, but I think that probability speaking, if this level has been broken out and we're retesting that area, there's a good chance that buyers probably want to support their recently conquered territory, if that makes sense, right? So buyers basically broke out of this area, and they're saying as price comes back, good chance that buyers probably want to defend and continue to push that price up after breaking through that resistance. So on top of that, we've the 20-period moving average. We've got this supportive level, and finally, we have a pretty clean break off of this upward trend line. So very basic stuff. That's all just kind of simple technicals, and I decided to get long at the retest of this support zone with a stop underneath structure. That is really all there is to this trade. There's nothing more super advanced or super technical than that. Looking for a couple different confluence factors. I think I mentioned 1, 2 as the support, 3 as the trend line. That gives us 3 reasons between the 3 of these why I'm interested in taking a long side position. Now you might ask, well, Nick, where's your stop and where's your target? Well, I already mentioned that my stop is here, but where's your target? I actually don't have a target on this trade. I'm going to be trailing this stop in. So I like the fact that this market is trending up, and if it decides to continue to break structure, I am basically going to use structure to evaluate and move my stop accordingly. So if price decides to break above here, at some point, I probably will go ahead and move that stop to break even and let the trade run as much as it wants. But as I go along, whether this trade is a winner or a loser, like I mentioned, I will be sharing it with you guys here on YouTube so that you can hopefully get something out of it. So with that said, I'll be back soon with an update on this one to see how things play out. All right, traders, so it is looking like things are headed in the wrong direction for us on this Swiss yen trade, but I did want to come back to this one and talk about it because if it does become a loss, I still want to talk about something that I think is important. So a lot of times when traders take a loss, they start asking themselves, what did I do wrong, right? They start asking, well, what did I miss about the market that was actually going to tell me that it was going to go down and not up? And I think that this is an important lesson that I have to remind myself, and I think a lot of newer traders get into trouble with pretty regularly. So what I mean by this is a lot of times people, I call them type 1 and type 2 losses. So let me tell you guys real quick about what this concept basically means. Type 1 losses are like mistakes, right? They're basically, you made dumb decisions, you got emotional, you got greedy, you didn't focus on what you were supposed to be looking at with your trading plan, all of those kind of dumb mistakes. Too big of a lot size is another one, those sort of things. Number 2 is just it didn't work. And here's the thing. Sometimes with a trade that you place, it has a good idea, has a good thesis, and the risk is managed for a reason. What I mean by that is we've put a stop on this trade to say, if this doesn't work out, then I'm just going to take my loss here and move on and find something else to trade. But with our thesis, if we're correct, we stand to gain a potential a lot more, right? So that's what I want to talk about. Is this, to me, is a type 2 loss, which basically means we haven't hit the loss yet, but we will see. But just in general, what I mean by this is that we've taken a level, right? We've identified a strong level of support. Our thesis in the technicals, to me, was pretty good and just hadn't worked out. So what happens when that do we have to go change everything up? The answer is no, in my view. So what happens when we take a loss like that is we just move on. A lot of times people take their losses incredibly personally, and that's why they have such a hard time taking a loss, because they're like, well, the market said it was going to go up and it didn't go up, and what the heck? And so I think that can get us into trouble. We have some sort of ego attached to our trading. Sometimes you just have stuff like this where it just doesn't work. There might have been 10 other times in my history, 20 other times, 50 times, where this exact same similar setup, very similar because nothing is exactly the same. If we had very similar setup, this might have worked out great. But this time, for whatever reason, maybe news came out, maybe a tweet came out, maybe the market's just feeling slow. Maybe my analysis was just not as correct as I thought it was. Sometimes that just happens. And as long as we understand that we should only be taking type number 2 losses, that's the key. Because type number 2 losses are okay in my book. They're a part of the process. Type number 1 losses are the mistakes and the over positioning and, taking trades just because you're bored or stuff like that. This is not one of those. I took this trade. I had a good reasoning for this trade, and I believed in my analysis, and things just aren't working out so far. We're about 3/4 of the way to our stop loss. So if price comes down a little bit further, then I will just stop out of this trade. I will take a loss, and I will still upload it to YouTube for hopefully somebody to get some sort of value from it. If you did enjoy this video, or if you have enjoyed this video so far and you want to see more videos like this, win or loss, do me a favor and smash that like button down below. It does let YouTube know that you want to see more content like this, and it lets other people know that this content was actually helpful to you. So we'll see how this one closes out. If we pop down one more time, then of course I will go ahead and wrap up the video. Otherwise, I will see you guys in the next update. Hey traders, so although I thought things were going to get stopped out here, we barely survived here on Swiss yen on our buy position. You can actually see here's my initial stop loss that I printed earlier when we talked about this. It's been a few days really since I've been filming this one, but we did get price starting to move in our direction, and fortunately did not get stopped out of this trade. So actually what ended up happening here is we barely missed our stop by just, I don't know, just a couple pips really. We were very close to being stopped out. But fortunately, the overall trend has started to continue to come back around, and our Swiss yen trade is now actually in profit. In fact, we did end up hitting a 1R reward to risk, meaning that my reward became about 1 times my risk at one point here. It is currently no longer that case because we've pulled back a little bit. But I've gone ahead and taken my stop, which was here, and I went and dragged it right up to a little bit better than break even here on the trade. And now it's time to just sit back, chill, and let this trade play out. It's either going to stop me out for about a break even trade, no big deal, I'll take a small profit, or we'll let this one run and see if it wants to continue to move in our direction. That's kind of the cool part about this strategy, is if it moves my way, I'll make more money, and I'll not define that. It can keep going as long as it wants. And if it goes against me, there's only a set amount that I know I will lose in that scenario. So it kind of is a reassuring fact. But I do want to talk about some of the technicals here as we go along. We do have a key level right here, which I'm afraid may actually hold as resistance for a little bit longer. We did see price come up to that point, find resistance, and pop back to the downside. So I know some of the YouTube comments might say, well, you should have just closed out this position right here. You knew it was going to come back down. I did not know, unfortunately. I'm not a crystal ball user at this point. But I do know that this is a resistance point, and if we can break that, then I think we have plenty of upside potential to keep going. That's not the case right now, and it very well could come back and tag me out for a stop loss, which I am completely prepared to do. No big deal. I'll move on to another position. But the idea here is if we do see the break above, if that does find bullish momentum, I think we have plenty of room to the upside. So I don't want to limit this trade. I don't want to trail my stop extremely tight and just get stopped out on a normal swing back and forth. I want to wait until I kind of see the decision being made by the market to either just stop me out and say, okay, this is more just range bound and not really going anywhere, or let's keep going and see if we can break past that level and show some strength. That would also be an interesting point. So again, big level of resistance here right around that 116.38 level. We'll see if price can get above it. If not, we'll just stop out of the trade and I'll upload this to YouTube as a break-even trade. A lot of my trades end up being break-even. That's the not shiny part about trading, is most of my trades end up being break-even or stopped out, and the occasional trade ends up being a really nice winner. That's kind of the nature of this strategy. I have a couple different strategies I trade, but this one, it just happens to have a very low win rate and a very high profit potential if a trade really decides to run. I've got a gold trade that I'm filming as well. You guys will hopefully see that video too. That one's going really well so far, so we'll see if that one kind of continues in our direction. So I'll be back soon with an update. Okay, quick little update here on Swiss yen. Price continues to move in our favor, and I've just moved my stop up a little bit further here into profit. What you'll notice is that, again, this trade that almost stopped us out, very close to coming into our stop loss zone, barely held on. We did end up holding that long-term trend that we were watching and hoping for, and now you can see the price has really run away from us. I've moved my stop even more here. If we actually, real quick, just grab this tool, we can actually see that the profit here is locked in at about 113 pips of profit. So even if price decides to come down, I'm happy with this trade. At this point, it's one of those good feelings where it's just like, you know, if it keeps going, awesome. If it comes down, no worries, I'll take the profit. So currently, Swiss yen doing its thing, doing really well. I actually moved my stop up to this point here, all the way from up to this point here underneath this structure. So very simply, trailing stop with my structure being watched and monitored. So anytime that we form a higher low or something like that, I'll probably just be trailing stops from here. Gonna see if we can get some more profit on this one. We are currently trading at 117.50, which is really impressive on this move here. We started out right around 115.9, let's say. So not bad at all. Moved up again, 100 and whatever pips. Pretty good stuff there. So we'll see how this one wants to keep going. If it wants to go ahead and stop us out, then that will be that. But otherwise, we'll let it run as long as it wants to go. So there's your update there on Swiss yen on the 4-hour chart here. We will see where it goes next. All right, traders, so we are all done with the Swiss yen trade. I woke up this morning to a trailing stop being hit and profits being made here. So not bad at all, a good feeling to wake up to. You can actually see here's our initial entry. If we were to drag this up, I put my stop just about here, which was about 115 pips of profit that got locked in right around here when we hit that trailing stop this morning. Again, I woke up to this trade being closed out for a nice profit there. So happy how that worked. I want to go back to initially when we talked about how I barely did not get stopped out on this trade. And so my entry definitely could have been better, but I think that the lesson learned here for me is that, and I'm sure for some of you guys as well, is that sometimes you hold a trade and it looks bad, and I've made the mistake in the past of just closing out a trade because I think, oh, you know, it's just going to be a loser anyways. I might as well just close it with a smaller loss, right? I don't know if you guys have ever done that, but I definitely have. And in this case, I stuck to the plan. I did what I was supposed to do, which is basically hold that trade until it either stops me out or trails me out, right? Those are the only two scenarios for this particular strategy that I'm trading. And so I ended up holding onto this position, and thank goodness I did, because it ended up being a really nice profit, just about, let's say, a 2.6 R, meaning that my initial risk was here. I trailed that one in up to about 2.6, I'm gonna say roughly, reward to risk. So my reward was 2.6 times bigger than my initial risk, which is not so bad at all. So very happy with how that trade played out. 115 pips. I know a lot of members caught this one as well, so if you are a member of the community, congrats. I'm glad that you caught some of that move as well. I got a couple messages this morning, just people saying, you know, good call, and I agreed with you and took my own trade. So that's always what I love to hear. I don't like hearing people just copying trades, but I love hearing people say, you know, I saw the same thing, I agreed with your analysis, I liked that uptrend and took the trade, made my own profits, and we talk about it in the community. That's the coolest thing ever to me. So if you're not already a member and you want to follow along with the trades I am sharing, as well as chat with our other members and see some of the other trades taken by our other analysts, course. You can get information on that down below in the description. There's a link to join, and there's a promo code for you guys here on YouTube that gets you like $5 off the community. So we'll see you inside. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you got something out of it, and we'll see you back in the next video.